Hi, everybody. DJ Yokley with you for another Coach's Corner. Last week, a little bit of technical difficulties on my side, so, Coach, I apologize. However, we're back together. The band is back together, and we get to talk about football another week. That means we beat Corona another week. So,
That's
on
right.
the scoreboard, Trojans are 0-2. However, against Corona, we're 2-0, baby. We're
That's
2
it.
0, and we're fighting. So, I mean, in all seriousness, when you look at this, you've played two tough teams in your conference, and I mean, to start the season with McDonald and then go to Mineral Ridge can only be up from here, right? So when you look at Jackson-Milton, they're a very respectable team, but two of those teams that we just talked about are powerhouses in the MVAC. Not that you're going to take your foot off the pedal, but there's some learning experiences in weeks 1 and 2 that obviously you can take into week 3.
Absolutely. I think we've talked a couple of times now, DJ, in the first couple of these about just how young the Trojans are this year. And, we're going through some of those growing pains right now of, 13 guys that had never played varsity football before this year out of a 23-man roster. That's pretty significant. And to go through, you're right. It's that meat grinder, heart of the, first part of the season. You get McDonald, who's going to have an absolute battle this week with Springfield. I think that's going to be an unbelievable football game. I'm a little jealous that I'm not going to be watching it. If you guys are, I might pick it up Saturday morning.
I was going to
Uh,
say, I think I know where you can get it.
there you go. Yeah, yeah, free plug there, right?
Hey, why
But
not? I'm not that
yeah,
guy.
sure. So, and then, a lot of people are going to sleep on that Mineral Ridge team, but they've got just an unbelievable amount of kids back at the skill positions. And I think Coach Shaner's done a fantastic job of building that program. Year 2 for him now, like it's year 2 for me here. And when he and I talk, we talk about wanting to build our programs the same way. A little bit of that no nonsense. Some of the stuff that flew in the past is just not going to be able to fly anymore. We want our kids to do things the right way and act the right way. Um, you know, he and I have both dismissed players already this year over things like that, and it's heartbreaking a little bit to have to let a kid go. But at the same time, you've got to send a message at some point to all of your players that hey, things are changing here, and you're either going to get on board or there's not a seat on this bus for you.
Talk about the character. I mean, every coach has a culture that they want to have represented on their team, but as a coach, you have to instill a lot of these young men and sometimes young ladies with character and how to handle yourself in certain situations. And not every time, you're going to get past a blind eye on. So talk to me about, how you feel about that. There's a lot of stuff going on in America right now. And how are you instructing your kids to handle themselves?
Yeah, we talk with our kids all the time about being, you know, being young people with the highest of integrity, and we want their character to be beyond reproach. And I think that one of the most important jobs that I have as a football coach, and that my staff has, and really anybody that gets into coaching in any sport at any level, is taking young people and making them into, quality members of society when they leave our programs. And so it's important for us to instill those kind of values and try and get kids to be high character people. You talked to Matt Bird tonight, and he and I were sitting here when we were waiting to get ready to roll. And I said to him, "Hey Matt, when do you turn 18?" And he says, "Oh, October 7th, Coach." And I said, "Did you register to vote yet? Have you registered for the draft?" Like we're talking about that kind of stuff. And he's, no, hey, I don't know how to do that. And so it's like, okay, come here, let me show you, let me walk you through this, and just instilling in them the values of being productive members of society when they get out of our programs.
So let me ask you this, with so much going on, and we don't have to talk specifics, but with so many things being seen on the national stage with NFL players, NBA players, MLB players, there's so many different contexts of what's going on in the world. How do you keep it separate from what they're trying to do? Because we live in a copycat society, and sometimes we don't have, at 14 or even 17, even 18 years old, they don't really know what's going on one side or the other. How do you keep that separate from what you're trying to do and the program you're trying to build in Sebring?
Yeah, we never want to, as coaches, we never want to instill our values into the kids,
Mm-hmm.
but we want to equip them with the tools to be able to make informed decisions for themselves and decide what kind of people they want to be, outside of our football program. And we've talked to our kids a lot, and I've had, conversations individually with our kids. Sports is a release from all the stresses of the world. It's supposed to be, especially at the high school level, it's a chance to get out there with your buddies and just hang out and have a good time
Yep.
and get an opportunity to compete against, other kids. And so one of the things that we've talked to them about is this is an opportunity to step away from all the outside noise that goes on. And let's not bring that outside noise into the program. Let's talk about it. Let's have real conversations. Let's be honest with each other about it. And, we can kind of, as a group, learn from each other's experiences a little bit. But when it comes to game day, when it comes to being out on the field, let's leave that as kind of a sacred place. Let's treat that like its own separate area. I would never discourage a player if they wanted to protest or if they wanted to do anything like that. I'd stand right alongside of them. But I prefer it, especially at the high school level, if we try and keep that, as pure as possible. And we can have those hard conversations. And I think it's my job to have those hard conversations.
Yep.
But let's save that for somewhere other than on the football field, because I think we're role models to younger students too. And, we don't want to confuse some of those younger kids that are looking up to our guys on Friday night, and we don't want to confuse those kids that are looking up to our coaching staff. So it's important for us to keep a high moral integrity, and have those tough conversations, but let's have them in a spot where we can actually have the discussion and have the conversation about what's going on and how you feel about it and the things that are happening.
I love it, Coach. I can't help but notice behind you, fall down 7, stand up 8. I mean, really, it's a quote, but it's really scripture. So when I look at it, I say,
Right.
kudos to you, man. Talk to me about why that is so important to you and your guys.
Yeah, I try and my coaches think it's corny sometimes, but I'll throw a little message up on the board every once in a while. I've got kind of a quote of the day thing going on with some of my social media right now. Or I've got a dry erase board in my office at my house, and, I'll throw it up on there just to remind myself. But, the more I started thinking about it and the more that we talked about what's gone on so far in our season and where things have gone, and they haven't gone the way that we wanted them to, it just kind of popped up for me one day. I think I saw somebody talking about Kobe Bryant or something, and I know that gets attributed to him a lot, even though I think just about everybody's used it at one time or another. But I threw it up there on the board, and as our guys were coming in, I'm sitting here in our weight room, and so I'm lucky enough to be able to put my office here. But as our guys have been coming in and working out and just getting reps in, I wanted them to see that, and I wanted them to be reminded that there's going to be adversity in life. And we've talked about that a lot over the last week here. Whether it's in football or whether it's just in your normal life, there's going to be adversity sometimes. And the true measure of your character is not in what happens to you, but how you respond to what happens to you.
Sure.
And so we asked our guys, hey, we've been knocked down. We've been hit in the mouth. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Now, what do we
Mike
do
Tyson.
next? That's right. That's right. What do we do next? So, we're really looking forward to seeing how they respond. And, I just thought that fall down 7, get up 8 was a good message for our team this week.
Well, I'm a huge fan of you, and now that you're a fan of quotes, I'm an even bigger fan of you. So let's talk X's and O's. Naturally, there's stuff on tape. Cody had an excellent game last week against Mineral Ridge. I thought he was in the end zone. The tape showed that he was there. I don't want to put it on the officials, but he was in. It was a beautiful run. It was a beautiful play call. He was in, and of course he eventually got in, got his tutty. But when you look at what you've done on tape so far against McDonald, against Mineral Ridge, what do you see game planning against Jackson-Milton that you really, really like?
Yeah, I think, you may have noticed last week that when things really started to click for us, we went to the power run game. Yep. And my guys, and you talked to Matt Bird tonight, and you talked to Frankie Lazoya in week 1, they kind of stepped up and they came to me in the game and they said, Coach, run the ball behind us. And, as a coach, you love hearing that. And as a former offensive line guy, I love hearing it even more. It's like, hey,
that fires you up, man. Your ears perk up.
That's right. Yeah, I think the hair on the back of my neck is standing up right now just thinking about it. So, when we need those tough yards, we go to those guys. And we implemented a little bit more of the power run this week. We've got a wristband system that we run that takes a little bit to get it in and get it implemented, but it's fully implemented for this week, and we're ready to roll with it. I think we can take advantage of some of the matchups that we've got between some of our best blockers and some of their best defenders. I told our kids this week, we're going to put best on best and say our best is better than your best at this spot. And so good luck. Let's see if you can stop it.
Not that you're scared. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. The kids asked for that, and so we're giving them a little bit more ownership of the program this week.
So, not that you're scared or afraid or of any team or anyone, but what are the challenges you see against the Bluejays here in week 3?
Well, Nate's a heck of a football coach, and I know he's in year 3 with his program now, and he's doing the right things. They're building that program the right way. Roster up over 40 this year. I can remember years where they were down as low as, we've been in the past. And so, he's doing the right things over there. And I think the biggest thing of all is they've got a tremendous running back in Sean Lingle. And I feel like every single week I talk about the other team's running back. But, in small school football, it's grinded out, it's pounded out, it's 3 yards in a cloud of dust. And Sean Lingle is a heck of a back to do that with, because he's the type of guy that as a coach you like to see. He doesn't want to run around you. He wants to put his head down and run straight through you. So we talked to our kids a lot this week about we got to be sure in our tackling. We got to make sure we wrap up. Jackson-Milton traditionally, a lot of misdirection, a lot of that traditional wing T veer type stuff. Mm-hmm. So we talked about making sure that we read our keys properly, making sure that, we're properly aligned and that we're disciplined, backside being slow to flow, just in case that there's that cutback or that reverse that comes. But Jackson-Milton's going to be a tough opponent. There's no weeks off in the NBAC. No matter who it is, no matter what year it is, everybody's going to try and hit you in the mouth at some point.
So to wrap up our show today, obviously Coach's Corner Week 4 with Matt Seidel, brought to you by Pizza Joe's in East Palestine. Matt, when you think of it from a fighter's perspective, you've lost 2 rounds, but it's a long fight. It's a 12-round fight. This particular fight is 6 rounds, and then you see what happens in round 7. Talk to me about the mentality, the fighter's mentality. If you're in the corner, you're up off the canvas, you've been knocked down a couple times, what do you have to do to adjust to tell your team this is what we do to win the fight?
So for us, it's been about the little things this week, and it's been attention to detail in doing the little things. We challenged them all this week. We think that a couple of times in the first 2 weeks when we were kind of getting ourselves out of position, we were trying to do too much as individuals. And, in football, it's all about the collective, and everybody's got to do their own job. The old Bill Belichick, just do your job. And so that's what we've really challenged them to do this week is make sure you do your own job. Don't worry about doing somebody else's job, and just go out and compete and have fun being kids playing a game that you love.
No, I love that. I mean, I tell you this every week, and I feel bad because I've got no eligibility left. But, man, I would strap it up. I got a helmet now. All I need is shoulder pads and a uniform, and I'm ready to go. And you got another tailback. But not that you need one, because you got 2 great ones in the Fredericks. Because, my goodness, were they impressive on Friday night. They were just running through holes, and you've got a great team, young man, and I'm excited to watch it. I was excited. Listen. As an East Palestine boy, being excited for Sebring football, people were looking at me like I had 3 heads, right? But I was there. You saw how early we got there. We were set up, we were ready to go, and it was exciting and great to see you.
We were so excited to have you in person, DJ, and you're always welcome down here in the home of the Trojans. We're always glad to have you. And, just again, thanks so much for everything that you do. The spotlight that you give us to shine on some of the kids that don't normally get the spotlight has been tremendous. And, I see it with all the programs that you guys cover. And I think, YSN's on the rise, and we're excited to be a part of it and can't wait for the future to see what happens with both of us.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. We got a Trojan fan right here in East Palestine if you ever need him.
Glad to have you.